I walk through the shadow of death left to fear. This is a journey through the halls of hell.
Yes people, what is good? I am BA, and today's film I want to talk about is The Raid. Now, I feel like this is long overdue because anybody that watches this channel will know that The Raid is one of my favourite movies of all time, and in my opinion, probably the best action movie of all time, or at least top 5 ever. And when it comes to unarmed combat, martial art movies, it is my favourite of all time. And The Raid, even from its inception, is quite unique, so let me explain the scenario. There was a Welsh director called Gareth Evans who was getting work in Indonesia. He'd filmed several things over there, and during his time in Indonesia, discovered the actor that plays Rama in this movie, the protagonist. And while in Indonesia, he was introduced to the martial art style Silat and all these amazing Silat martial art artists who were doing movies over there for absolutely nothing, and he realised that he could go and write a script and then film it in Indonesia for a really low budget and highlight all these amazing Silat martial artists that he'd discovered and really create a very high quality film for way less than he would have been able to accomplish it in Hollywood. And that is what he did. So believe it or not, the script for The Raid was actually written by a Welsh man in English, and then he had it translated into Indonesian before he went over to film the movie. And I've got to say, it really shows the differences in culture in general when you can get that much action on screen, that amount of stunts, etc. for the budget that this film had, and then if you imagine how much that would have cost them to accomplish it in Hollywood. It's just ridiculous how unions create tax increases, create bosses trying to take away money, and then before you know it, everything gets outsourced to some little country who can film the shit for 1/10 of the price. It's a story as old as time. And the premise of The Raid is incredibly simple. There is a SWAT team task force. Today is the day they have been told they have to go and take down a crime boss, and this crime boss has a room at the top of a tower block, and the tower block is completely occupied by other gang members, lookouts, or terrified civilians just trying to stay in their rooms and keep out of everything. And literally, that's the plot in a nutshell. This SWAT team has to get up this building floor by floor to try and make it to the top and arrest the drug lord. And it goes to show, when it comes to action, plot truly is secondary. You know, there's a lot of action films, and I'm looking at Jackie Chan with both eyes straight in his face right now when I say this. You know, there's a lot of action films back in the day when the plot was absolutely throwaway, and all that mattered was the quality of the actual fight choreography, the way it was filmed, and the way the fight scenes came together in the final movie. When me and my friends were kids and we used to rent out Jackie Chan films, we never used to say, oh yo, the plot in this one is amazing. It would always be like, oh, wait until you see the fight at the fairground, wait until you see what happens on the bus. That is what these films are all about, and that is what modern action, specifically filmed in the West, seem to forget. They shoehorn in their action with quick cuts and clearly lack of rehearsal, not enough time spent on actually renting out a warehouse, getting a professional stunt team, and piece by piece thinking about the most unique, creative and cinematic way to dispatch a room full of dudes. This shit isn't easy, but it does require time, and every time I watch a Hollywood film, I just see it lacking with the quick cuts and the poor cinematography, the choreography we've seen time and time again. Nothing is bringing the genre forward. The Raid brought the martial arts genre forward like 20 years. To me, there's really like 4 evolutions of the martial art film in the West, you know. Bruce Lee introduced that shit to us. Then Jackie Chan introduced the absolute insanity of the live action stunts that he was prepared to do on camera. And then Tony Jaa came along with Ong Bak and sort of updated the genre and brought a new level of brutality to the impact, to the hits, and on top of that displayed a fighting style which was very slept on in the martial arts genre, which is Muay Thai kickboxing, a beautiful martial arts style which I studied myself, and when Ong Bak came out, I just thought it was a great display of everything that that style had to offer as a martial art, while at the same time, you know, trying to make it cinematic and work it into what looks good in a film. But then The Raid came along, and what The Raid did for me was modernise, camera shot lengths, how long the choreography could go on in a single camera shot, truly making the camera feel a part of the fight, kinetic, frantic camera action, but not shaky. Just, if someone's running it, it'll run alongside with them. If someone's smashing through a window, it goes through the window with them and falls down with them. This camera is everywhere in these fight scenes, keeping your eyes exactly on what is happening. There's no quick cuts confusing you. These guys are pulling all this shit off, and because of the exact length of the editing style they've chose, everything is clear, everything is concise, and I feel like this was cinema's true move away, or a desperate attempt to make the action genre move away from that quick cut, shaky cam style that the Bourne Identity fashioned, and everybody thought, oh, that's how you do a fight scene. You do it in a documentary shaky cam style so it looks more realistic. No, you fucking don't. You do not. It's hard to follow. It'll make you feel seasick at the best of times, and it just doesn't look impressive. It makes it look like the actors can only pull off one movement before the director yells cut and they can reset to throw the second punch. Listen to how much I'm diatribing during this review. I love The Raid. I've not even started talking about The Raid yet, and thinking about how good The Raid is makes me hate everything that isn't the fucking Raid. Anything. Pick a film. I'll hate on it because it's not The Raid. What? Schindler's List? Jews can't do spin kicks. So finally back to The Raid. The pacing of this movie is a tricky one on paper when you look at the premise. How do you do that premise but also make it escalatory? And I love how they actually chose to do that, because the first segment isn't all guns blazing. They're trying not to trip the alarms. They go up the first few floors and it's more like a stealth mission. They're taking out guards who are on lookout very quietly and making sure no one sees their movements. But at a certain point, at a certain time in the movie, unfortunately, they are spotted, an alarm is tripped, and from that moment on, absolute chaos erupts in the best way possible. All the gangs within the tower block get mobilized. They start hunting down the SWAT team floor by floor. The SWAT team have to separate off into smaller little groups. You've got a machete gang on one floor trying to hunt them down. There is some incredible hallway fight sequences in this movie, by the way. This movie also helped popularize the hallway fight sequence. A lot of people were raving about the Daredevil TV series. My friend even let me know, like, yo, you'll love it. It's like The Raid. I watched it. Spoiler alert, it wasn't like The Raid. It was basically Power Rangers kicks and punches in a corridor. Here's how you can't copy The Raid unless you take time, actually. I'll explain this, because that Daredevil fight sequence, I'm hating a little bit. It was decent, but it is not The Raid. Why is it not The Raid? Because with The Raid, when the choreography is written, there's basically a special effect or a prop needed. Every third strike. It's either like a knife's going in someone's neck, so you need a prop knife, prop blood, etc. Prop this, prop that. Someone's getting smashed with a vase, their head's getting put through a window, they're getting smashed off a tile, a table's getting broken. Every single one of these is written into the choreography as a prop or an effect. And that's what makes this choreography so unique. Another example I could use is, in John Wick 4, it's just a small moment, but in John Wick 4, one of the guards gets shot with an arrow through his knee, sticking his knee into the wall, and then John Wick headshots him, causing him to fall back while his knee is still stuck in the wall. Now, that is a piece of choreography that looked really unique and original because they were able to think about props budgetlessly. They were like, oh, what if an arrow went through his knee into the wall and that would cause him to rotate at a certain angle, making it cinematically unique, etc. This is how you get a truly formed, legendary, one-of-a-kind cinematic martial art fight sequence. Every single moment of it is a stunt team attempting to think up choreography that hasn't been used before, while implementing props and effects in a unique on-camera way that hasn't been seen before. And if you're just phoning it in, getting a corridor, and quickly simulating some punches and kicks, it is never going to have the same impact as a stunt team who have fully fleshed out this fight and know what tile's gonna get broken by what piece of head, and they've got all these props ready to be incorporated into the fight scene. So every fight in The Raid is like that. It's not just punch, punch, kick, knock out. It's like punch, smack off a banister, stab in the knee, kick through a window, judo throw through the fucking floor. The floor below them blows up. They fly out a window. Like, that is The Raid, okay? Everything is an incredible incredible bit of cinematography that you have probably never seen before. And needless to say, the fights escalate and escalate up to my personal favourite fight sequence when they get to the floor which has the drug lab. The Raid drug lab fight sequence is probably my favourite fight in cinema, to be honest. A lot of people think the Raid 2 actually has better fights, and the final fight between Rama and the final boss in the Raid 2 is the best fight in the whole franchise. I disagree. It's a very well choreographed one-on-one fight, but that is one sequence where you feel like the props are waiting to be used. There's a lot of glass around them. There's a lot of things that are clearly there for them to be thrown into, and that generally isn't the case in a Raid fight scene. Obviously, the props are contextual and make sense in the room they're in. You just know they're getting thrown through them in that particular sequence. In the drug lab sequence, it's just tables full of money, drugs, you know, what there would be in a drug lab, and everybody gets absolutely fucked up in the most brutal way possible. I think my single favourite moment in any martial arts film is in this scene, where, like, it's not even the main guy, Rama. They actually give one of the secondary characters quite a lot of screen time in this fight, and what's interesting is, he doesn't even get much dialogue, but just when this fight happens, he's like, oh yeah, I'm good at fighting too, and he beats the shit out half of this room. Anyway, there's a guard who tries to flank him with a front kick from the side, and he steps back, grabs the guy's ankle, yanks it vertical so the guy's head hits the ground, and then stamps on his face while still holding his leg in the air. And the way they film it, it looks like he literally just stamped on his face while pulling his leg in the air. It doesn't look like wire work, and he even twists his boot on the cheek. Go and watch Raid Drug Lab fight scene right now on YouTube. Watch that moment. Tell me that moment isn't the single most amazing bit of martial arts cinematography of all time, and that extra is not fucking dead. I went to that dude's funeral. He still had a boot mark on his face. And the music in that sequence is so good. It's actually the white rapper from Linkin Park that did the Western soundtrack to this movie, by the way. Had no idea it was him for years, but yeah, if you like the Raid music, you like the white rapper from Linkin Park. I hope it hit you as hard as it hit me. But yeah, that drug lab music is insane. Trust me, to this day, if anybody gives me shit in the street, the last thing they will hear is me say, Alexa, play the Raid Drug Lab. And I will finish this review by saying, yes, there is also a Raid 2. It is also incredible. It isn't as clear, as concise as the Raid 1. There's a reason for this. Gareth Evans, the Welsh director, who I discussed at the start, had many script ideas, as all creative filmmakers do. And in the back of his mind, he had a great idea for what he saw as his great crime epic, you know, his Godfather, etc. But unfortunately, the one movie that popped for him was The Raid. So guess what? Now he's known as Gareth Evans, the action director who made The Raid. So yes, studios were prepared to give him money after that, but not to make something out of the genre he had one hit film in. So when The Raid 2 came about, what Gareth Evans tried to do was combine more Raid with this idea he had in his head for this great crime epic. So The Raid 2 does sort of play like a long-form crime drama, like a Godfather or a Goodfellas or something, but just, you know, when things erupt, people don't get shot in the back of the head. It's a 20-man martial art fight sequence. And on paper, yeah, that is incredible, but just the way it flows for me is a bit elongated and disjointed, and The Raid is just a tornado reaching to a crescendo right at the eye before you were torn into a billion pieces. And that has been my review of The Raid. In case you guys can't tell, I think it's a pretty decent film, and if you've liked this video, click like, subscribe, comment down below, come over to the Patreon, sign up and help support me personally. I've been BA, peace.